Well, first, thank you very much, Mr. Slavin and his staff, for inviting us to come and speak with you today as a part of Black History Month. Growing up, basically, it was kind of easy philosophy. Work hard, play hard. Sun up, sun down. Basically, that was kind of it. That was pretty much my childhood. Born and raised out in the country, about 10 miles from town, and so had chores, a lot of chores to do in the morning before school and after school, and then as I got older, got to add sports into that, so that was pretty much it. But I don't think it's changed too much today. I mean, kids still have to get up early in the morning and do some of the same things we had to do. Maybe not quite as hard a work. They work, but maybe not quite as hard. But it was enjoyable, though. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about this in a little bit. You know, you were the first Black student athlete at both your high school, Jordan Matthews, and here at Pembroke State. Did you view your really trailblazing as the first Black student athlete at both your high school and at Pembroke State as an extension of the general civil rights movement and just anti-racism movement?
Well, at the time, I really didn't think about it as a part of the movement because I kind of looked at the movement as being more on a larger scale. But as I reflect back, though, I can think that, you know, it had to contribute because what happened in, I think it was 1964, federal government passed legislation was called Freedom of Choice Schools. In other words, Black parents could send their son or daughter to all-white school. All you had to do was sign a form and it was a done deal. So my parents did that. So that's how it all came about, that I was, that I attended Jordan Matthews. I think they had a little bit better idea of what was going to take place than I did because it meant better opportunities. Because for one thing, Jordan Matthews had track and field. The high school that I was at, Chatham High School, we didn't have track and field. So that was a plus for me there. I really didn't look at it though as a part of the movement per se, but which in fact it was, but I didn't really look at it that way at the time.
What was your general high school experience like? You know, you said it was a white majority high school. What was that like for you as a Black student there?
Well, obviously, you know you're going to have people call you names. But one thing about that is I knew that it was not a place and time to be confrontational. So I didn't get into all that. You know, somebody call you a name, say, I have to say, hey boy, hey, you know, and if they get in your face, you know, I might say, who are you talking to? They say, oh, I'm talking to you. No, you weren't talking to me because that's not my name. And then I tell them my name. So that kind of settled that. But at the same time, I knew if you didn't talk back and just go on about your business because you weren't there for all that, so you were there to get an education and to finish high school at the time. That's what I was doing, participating in sports. So I just kind of shut that off, and cause that's the way conversation is. You know, if you don't talk back to somebody else, there is no conversation.
Right.
So, you know, so just going about your business.
Was that something that you learned from your parents, or was that something that you figured out by yourself?
Well, I think it's probably somewhat more so emulate my dad. He was kind of a soft-spoken person, didn't say a whole lot, but it's kind of like E.F. Hutton. You know, when he speaks, everybody listens. But yeah, I kind of learned it from him. Kind of being, you know, not necessarily staying to yourself, but just being well-mannered and low-key, so to speak.
When did you start running? I know you said that your parents sent you to that high school because they had a track and field program. Had you been running before that as well? No. Now I played, well, starting in the 9th grade, I played football, basketball, and baseball. Matter of fact, I think baseball was probably my best sport. But at Jordan Matthews, I figured that I probably wouldn't be able to play baseball. I was a pitcher, that was about it. And I was a pitcher, and all the baseball players on their team pretty much played during the summer, American Legion. And you know, as a pitcher, you don't get to play, you might get to play one game during the week, maybe two if you
pitch maybe 3 or 4 innings, both games. But so that's kind of where it was. I mean, I'd played a little bit already before I went to Jordan Matthews. It's just that track just happened to be a sport that, matter of fact, the only reason I started that, the football coach told everybody on the football team, if you wasn't playing in any other sport, you had to run track. I said, well, I guess I'll go out for track, because I had no idea what it was. I didn't know what track was. So that's how I got started in track. Yeah.
Do you view or at least through your experience as a runner, did you gain the respect of other students in the school, as someone who excelled as a runner?
Yeah, and I think tying that in with, like I say, civil rights movement, I think athletics was a way in which I got to know a lot of other students, or at least they got to know me. They may not have known me personally, but they knew who I was because I participated in football and basketball and track. So it was kind of in the public eye, so to speak. And not only the students, but parents, because they can come to the games and stuff like that. So, at least they got a chance to know who I was and maybe kind of give them some idea who I was as a person, and not just, a black student.
That's what happened.
To really humanize it.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
What was your recruitment process like? I know you had offers from a couple of schools. How did you end up at Pembroke State?
Well, I think the first coach that talked to me about college, well, actually the coach didn't talk to me, it was guidance counselor. In my high school at Jordan Matthews told me that the coach from A&T was coming to Jordan Matthews for a visit. We want to talk to some football players and also want to talk with me. Well, it kind of disqualified himself, so when he was supposed to come, he didn't show up. So I didn't know his name, didn't have no phone number, no nothing, so he didn't contact me again, so I didn't try to contact him. And then coach from East Carolina had contacted me about coming there. And the reason I say he disqualified himself also, and the reason he disqualified himself, he talked to me about coming to summer school. I guess he didn't think my grades were good, and I said, oh, I know that's all right now, because I'm from a poor family, I ain't got no money to come to summer school. I said, who's going to pay for this? He said, well, you have to pay for that. I said, no, not this one. I'm not paying for that. So that was kind of disqualifying. And then our high school had their conference track meet at St. Andrews, which is only, 15 miles from here. And that's where I met Dr. Ed Crane, and he talked with me after the meet. And the rest is, I guess, history. Because I made one mistake that day. Well, it was a good one, though. I gave him my home phone number. Man, like a hound dog, man. He wouldn't get off the trail. He kept calling, but he got me down here for a visit, and I visited, and I had to come back and take the SAT because I hadn't taken that. Passed that, and after that, like I say, it was history. Yeah.
How did your experience at Pembroke State compare to what you went through in high school?
Well, I think high school, in a way, prepared me for college in terms of segregation, or desegregation, rather. But at the same time, it didn't prepare me for college life. So that's the biggest difference was college life, man, because you got to step it up then. This is kind of like real life. First time being away from home for an extended period of time. You got to be able to manage your time because you got a lot of free time and a lot of different things. So it was a little bit different. And not only that, in college, you got students coming from not only all over North Carolina, but out of state. And when I first came here at that time, we had a lot of students from the north, Virginia, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. And they're a little bit more liberal in the north at that time. So making the transition wasn't that difficult. So it worked out all right.
When you got to college, I'm curious, I know you had a very successful career as a student athlete. At what point did you realize that, okay, I made the jump from high school to college and now I'm going to be able to really excel athletically in college? I think one thing is in college, it's a little different because now you got
more athletes that are at your level or better. Because out in high school, sometimes, you know, you don't have a lot of competition maybe. Like in my case, in high school, 1A high school at the time. So, you know, competition wasn't really that stiff. Well, I say 1A, but it was a little different because we didn't have 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A. Then everybody that qualified to go to state meet, everybody competed. But now you got competition not just in North Carolina, but all over the United States and some foreign athletes as well. So you had to step up your game if you wanted to be successful. And I just really wasn't the type of person that didn't want to not do well. And Dr. Crane, now he was a coach that, you know, he really didn't like for it to be slack, so to speak. I mean, we had to put in the work now. And I think that's the biggest difference in college. You got to put in the work if you want to be good. You know, there's old saying, you never become a heavyweight champion by performing lightweight stunts. That's the bottom line. It's not going to happen. So your actions are going to have to reflect, you know, what it is you want to be. If you say, I want to be good, then the only way to do it is you got to act like you want to be good. You got to do what it takes to be good.
Gotta work towards it.
Yeah.
Gotta work.
You got to work. Like I said at the beginning, work hard, play hard.
Right about that.
Work first, though.
Right, work first. Work first.
Todd, I'd love to hear a little bit about your high school experience as well. When did you start getting into track, and then how did you end up at UNCP?
Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me. It's an honor to be here. I started running track when I was in middle school, 7th grade actually. So in the 6th grade, my summer, 6th grade summer, I had a coach that offered me to run track in the summer. So you know, I was fast, but I wasn't fast enough for him to actually pay for me to actually run. So my mom and my grandparents, they scraped up some money for me to, you know, get some track spikes and get a track uniform for me to run in the summer. So after that summer, I just knew like this was where I wanted to go. This is where I wanted to excel at. 'Cause I played football also, but I wasn't really that good at football. So I felt like track was my calling. So when I got to high school, 9th grade, I was fast, but I wasn't as fast as the guys that were already there. So I had to work. I had to prove myself in order to get my spot on the team. So I feel like middle school really started off for me.
And then how'd you end up at UNCP?
Well, funny story. My senior year, I didn't have any offers for track, but I had a best friend named Wayne Robertson, and he had a scholarship here at UNCP, and we both did long jump, and he had a track scholarship for long jump, and I hit the mark for the walk-on. So after the coach gave him the scholarship, he had texted me and wanted to know if I was interested in being the preferred walk-on. And with him being my best friend, I didn't want to leave him high and dry. I didn't want him to come here by himself. So with him getting a scholarship, I was just like, well, let's do it together. You know, it's our first time being away from home, so why not just take on the journey together? So if it wasn't for him getting a scholarship, then yeah, I wouldn't be here, because the coach that was here was looking at him, and it was just, I guess, icing on the cake for just to add me too. So.
Well, to add on to that, see, that's a good recruiting tool. You got somebody that's coming, recruiting tool. Well, hey, don't you know somebody else?
Right.
Bring one with you. So that's what we've always been doing that.
And that's kind of how it happened. So like I said, he was my best friend. So he was talking to the coach like without me knowing, because he knew I wanted to run track in college. You know, I wanted a chance to do it. So I'm real thankful for him for actually looking out and talking to the coach for me. So.
Todzah, I'm curious. We're gonna hear more about Coach Rodgers' story as a coach, but thus far, just through his high school growing up, his high school experience, and his time at Pembroke State, what goes through your mind when you hear him tell the story?
Well, see, before this, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know about him, but when I got this opportunity, you know, I Googled his name and everything came up. You know, All-American. you know, first black athlete at UNCP, I'm just like, wow, like it's like I said, it's an honor to be here, and just hearing his story and how I know we didn't grow up in the same time period, but us being African American, we have similar pathways. Like we both had to wake up early in the morning, you know, get up and grind. Cause me growing up, we had a wood heater, and so every morning my grandpa would wake me up. Hey Todzah, you know, it's time to go out cut wood so we can make some breakfast. So my grandpa, he really just trained me up to be a hard worker, and like I feel like that's why I'm here now. So I feel like me and his pathways are really similar.
Yeah, very similar. I didn't say that, but I had to cut wood too. Cause we had firewood.
Yeah, firewood.
As a matter of fact, that was the heat and cook.
It was everything.
With wood. Yeah.
And them cold mornings, them cold nights, you throw some wood in the stove and just, you know what I'm saying, put a little fire in there. Hey, it's good. It's all good.
Yeah. Well, mine differed a little bit from that. Yeah. We had to put on blankets. Had so many blankets on the bed, couldn't turn over, man. It was so heavy.
Oh, I've been there.
Yep. So.
That's her.
So similar paths.
Yeah, similar. Very similar. Very similar.
Yeah, I'm curious. So Todzah mentioned how he kind of came in with a friend. Did you know anyone coming into your time at Pembroke State, or did you have to really just meet everyone?
Had to just meet everyone, but now at the same time, well, there was one guy that I had competed against in high school that came the same year I did, from Southern Pines High School. He came in when I did the freshman year, and then the next year, there was another guy that I competed against at the state meet from Rocky Mount, North Carolina, that came in the following year. So, yeah. Pretty much though had to make new friends and meet a lot of different people, but found out later on that some of them I competed against in high school, but I didn't know it at the time. Yeah.
Did you go to college with the intent of pursuing a career in coaching?
No. Well, see, my experience was this. Coming from the black school, going on to the white school, they didn't know a whole lot about me. I didn't know a whole lot about them. I don't think I went in the guidance office at high school one time. And that was when she called me and said that Coach A&T was coming down. Other than that, I didn't even go into the guidance office. So what I had to do was kind of do it on my own. And then when I got here, I really didn't know. I knew, though, that I was going to school, beyond high school, because I seen my dad work in the factory all of his life. And my brother, when he got out of high school, he went to college, went to A&T to play football, got hurt his freshman year, back injury, that ended his career. So he was there to play football, see? And so that was the end of his schooling too. That was his interpretation. But then later on, he did the same thing. He worked in the factory, a lot of different jobs, and he said, boy, I wish I had gone to school. So I knew that that's what I needed to do, because I didn't want to follow that same route. So I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do, but what happened was Coach Crane, who was also not only my coach, but he was my academic advisor. So, and I thought I was going into recreation. First, before that, I thought I was going into business until I took economics, and I said, no, this is not going to be it. Ain't going to be no business here. So I think I'd do recreation. But Coach Crane told me at the time, he said, well, look, you can get a degree in recreation. He said, but what if it don't work out? Well, I hadn't thought no further than recreation. He said, oh, so I don't know. Well, I'm thinking it's going to work out. He said, well, not only that, he said, in recreation, at the top, there's only one position. And they usually stay in those positions forever, 30, 40 years. He said, you're going to have a long time working way up to the top. And then he said, not only that, he said, they work on weekends, they work on holidays.
Ain't like that.
Yeah, he said, now if you go into physical education, or maybe teacher certification, he said, if you get a job teaching and coaching, he said, man, you don't work for 9 months out of the year. I said, oh man, that sounds good. 9 months out of the year? Well, now it's 10, I think. So that's how I got started in that, and that's how I ended up deciding to go into physical education, because I've been around sports all my life anyway. And at the same time, got my teaching certification, and a little bit later on, I knew that if I wanted to advance a little bit higher, I had to get my master's degree. So, you know, I did that after I graduated from Pembroke. About 3 years later, I went back to grad school and got my master's.
And at that point, so you eventually circled back to Pembroke State. What led you back to Pembroke State and becoming the coach here?
Oh man, boy, he getting all up into my business now. Well, one thing that brought me back was family. Now I say family. I got married when I was in school. Let's see. That was, well, so here's another part of it. It was my second sophomore year. You figured that one out yet? In other words, I crammed 4 years of college into 5 years. 2 years as a sophomore. So, and I got married in the spring of my second sophomore year. And so that's one reason I came back. Because when I first got out of school at Pembroke, I was looking for a job in recreation. And I thought I was going to go back home, Greensboro area, but couldn't find no jobs up there. And I finally ended up with a job. I worked a couple of jobs there, but still my family was here, so I was working up there and coming back home on the weekend. And then I finally found a job here in Longton. Worked that for a while, and that's when, and after that, that's when I went to grad school. And after I got to grad school, I came back and got a job in Cumberland County school system. And then after that, 3 years there, the job came open here. So there was an opportunity to move back and be back home with my family. And so that's how I ended up back here. But at the same time, it was good because I knew the program here, knew a lot of the people here in the community, knew a lot of the faculty members, knew the administration, knew the staff. So it made it a whole lot easier. But the reputation for the program itself at that time, that was a good situation to start off in. You know, in other words, there was already the recipe there for success to begin with, which made it a whole lot easier, especially being black, and being the first black head coach at UNCP, and not only UNCP and the UNC system, excluding HBCU schools. So, yeah, I was glad to come back, man. I mean, it was good. It was an ideal situation for me. So.
Yeah, you mentioned being the first black head coach at Pembroke State and in the UNC system of the predominantly white universities. You know, that's really a common theme in your life story, being a trailblazer. How important was it for you to kind of do that? What did that mean to you? Well,
reflecting back on it, at the time I really didn't think a whole lot about it, but now I can see how it's important.
Because you said trailblazer. So me being a first-time college student, it really pushed my younger brother to actually go to college, and like he just looks upon me for answers. I don't know why all the time, but I don't know. It's just because before me, he wasn't really thinking about going to college, or he didn't see himself being successful going to college, and like. I wanted to set an example for him that he can do anything he want to do. You can set forth to, you know, anything you set your mind to, and I feel like I'm a trailblazer for him and for people that may look up to me that don't think they have an opportunity.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I think it's good too. Someone has to be an example or be a role model for those that are coming up behind you. And I think that's one thing it did, it provided me an opportunity to do that. So.
Both of you just mentioned that you act as role models and examples for people, you know, behind you. Who are some people that you toth look up to and inspire you? Todzah, we can start with you.
Okay, I'll say me, one guy I look up to was Martin Luther King Jr. So with me being a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, he was also a brother of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. And just looking into his ways and just look to to see how he wanted to bring change amongst not only African American people but other races. It's just like I just wanted to. I just looked up to him to see how I could bring about change amongst, because me being in high school, I went to a mostly African American high school, and we had a reputation for not going to college at my high school. So I wanted to set myself apart from them and progress myself and change the ways. And just change the statistics. I didn't want to follow a path where it's going to lead me in the wrong direction. Could you really say that?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Now for me, looking at role models or those that also set an example. Come to mind maybe people like Jackie Robinson, Jesse Owens, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, especially Arthur Ashe, because you didn't have too many blacks playing tennis back when he was playing. So those guys were certainly guys that I looked at and said, "Oh boy, I wonder one day can I do something like that?" So. And of course today, that changes. Those role models kind of changes as more of them emerge from year to year. Like now, I can think of people like Russell Wilson. You say, somebody like that, so and not only just in athletics. You got people in other different venues that are serving the same purpose. Okay. Like here's one for you. John Stevenson. Y'all know who John Stevenson is?
No.
You know who he is, but you don't know him by that name. I didn't even until I looked it up. John Legend.
Okay.
The singer, yeah. That's his real name. The stage name is John Legend. The real name is John R. Stevenson.
Didn't know that.
Stevens, yeah.
So being the first black head coach at Pembroke State and in the UNC system, did you really try to create opportunities to foster a diverse environment, given kind of your background?
Yes and no, and primarily no. And the reason I say no, I didn't intentionally do it, but the nature of the sport requires you to do that. Track and field, you're talking about 19, I think about 20 now, 21, different events.
Yeah.
And as you know very well, in track and field, there are some events you're going to have predominantly whites competing in those events, and then there are going to be some events predominantly black. Because how many black pole vaulters do you see? Not too many.
Yeah, you don't see any.
You don't have a whole lot to recruit from, so you're going to have to recruit some white distance runners. Now, unless they're international students now. If you're talking about Americans, you don't have too many not real good black distance runners. And if they're real good, the larger schools are going to get them anyway. So you have to be diverse. You're going to have to go across everybody. You're going to have to talk to, I don't know how many you have to talk to. It's just a bunch of them. Because remember now, you're not the only one recruiting them. And you're going to try to recruit the best. Just because they think they're Division I, that don't mean you don't recruit them. Because, Division I might not want them. They might not have the major at that school if they want. School might be too big for them. Now, we got a lot of people because they say, no, I'm not going to NC State, I'm not going to Carolina. Those schools are too big. They want to go to a small school. And maybe they grew up in the country, They weren't used to this city life and being big time, They want to go somewhere where it's small. Go somewhere where they feel like they can compete and be successful and somebody would know about them.
Right.
Not just be a number, So, and I think that's a slogan that we used for a long time, Not just being a number. Get the personal touch. Right here. Still going on today.
Between your career as a student athlete, your time spending decades here as a coach, when you look back, what do you hope that your legacy is that you leave behind at UNCP?
Well, I hope that I have provided an example that people would want to follow. And I hope that they'd also understand the importance of, getting an education and doing your best and putting your best foot forward, because when you're in athletics, everybody's looking at you. So you have to be careful what you say and what you do. So I hope that, I didn't say too many bad things or do too many ugly things. I'll try to put my best foot forward so that people will remember that. Try to get along with everybody, and it's not just on campus. Being around here, I got to meet a lot of people around town, and was in a few organizations here when I was involved in the community, helping with the road race and with 4th of July. Was in the Pembroke JCs, president at one time, and a few other little places, and so I hope I was able to leave a positive mark on the people in the community and the students, so that others would say, hey, if he can do it, I can do it, and he grew up there, and it's all right for him. Maybe it's all right for me too. So, yeah.
Todzah, Coach has clearly left a large impact both at UNCP and beyond. What do you hope that your impact one day may be, whether it's at UNCP or beyond that?
Well, I hope that I can make an impact on the kids that's behind me that want to come to college, or the kids behind me that want to run track. I want them to know that you can come from any walk of life and still be successful. Like with me, I had no offers coming out of high school, and I was able to get a walk-on opportunity here. So I was a walk-on for 3 years, and then my junior year I won conference. So after my junior year, I was able to be on scholarship, and I could be a scholarship athlete in college. And I just want to leave an impression that I didn't give up. I never quit, and I just want the individuals to know that you can accomplish anything you set your mind to, and just keep going, just keep pushing. The light is ahead. Don't give up. So.
Okay. All right.
Coach, what would your message be to the next generation of student athletes and just people growing up like Todzah?
Okay. Yeah, just kind of piggyback on a little bit of what Todzah just said. My message would be this. One, student athlete or not, I think one of the things you have to do is you have to know who you are. You have to define who you are and what you want to be. But at the same time, now, you have to be realistic about that. And that's important because, there's an old saying, if you don't know where you're going, you may end up anywhere. And so you got to set goals for yourself and have some expectation and know kind of what you want to do. Now, some of those things are going to change, but that's okay. But you got to have a starting point. And just like I said, you got to work hard.
Got to work hard.
I think I said it before, I don't know what I did, now, but I'll say it again. You never become a heavyweight champion by performing lightweight stunts, so you got to work hard. That's a given. Yes, and another big part of that is you have to be consistent.
Yes.
In other words, there should be no gaps between what you proclaim and what you practice. No gaps. Now, if you say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be this, but if you're not practicing, it ain't going to happen.
It ain't going to happen.
So there can't be no gap between those two things. And the last thing is, like I said, never give up. Never give up.
Never.
Because that's life. Life is what? It's experiences. I mean, there are going to be ups and downs in life. You're going to get knocked down. You'll give out. You might get sick. You get missed opportunities. But hey, you got to get up and go again.
Keep going. So
don't give up. So for those 4 things, work hard, know who you are, be consistent, never give up. If you do all those things, you should be able to make it. Yeah, but you're going to need some help, though. I mean, nothing, can't do it by yourself now.
Right.
They say bring somebody along with you. See, birds will fail to flock together. That's where you got to be. Finding somebody who wants to flock with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Get on board.
Reflect on the last half hour or so. What are the biggest takeaways that you'll bring with you from this conversation?
The biggest takeaways is, I know, well, being here, I wasn't much of a listener. Like, I just wanted to do, and I never took the time to sit down and actually listen. I feel like that's key in order to grow in life, because my freshman year being here, my first semester, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I was in my head a lot, and I just wanted to listen to myself. But having good people here that actually seen that I was struggling and seen that I wasn't doing so well, they put me to the side and actually was like, you need to figure out what you want to do, because you're just wasting your time if you're not giving you 100%. So I think just the very key takeaway is just listening, just understand that you're not always going to be right. There's going to be times where you know what I'm saying, you might think you know, but sometimes you need a helping hand. Yeah. Sometimes you need a helping hand. You can't do everything on your own. Yeah. So just let people, if somebody's trying to help you, let them in. Don't shy away from it. Just because you think you know, just hear them out, because you never know.
Yeah. And lastly, is there anything that either one of you would like to add or ask each other about this discussion, whether it's related to each other's stories, MLK Week celebration that's currently going on?
Coach?
No, I think the one thing I didn't mention, and we were talking about coming back to Pembroke, and why I came back, and I said because of family and because I got married. I think being around Pembroke kind of grows on you, you know, because I didn't have any intention of living here when I came here. But found out, it's a nice place to work, a nice place to live. Matter of fact, I have 2 children, and my wife, well, she went to school here. Even though we got married when I was in school here, she started working here before I did. And at the same time she was going to school here, when she was working here, she went to school also and got her degree. And my youngest daughter, she got her degree from here. My oldest daughter, she broke ranks. She went to NC State, but then she came back in a way because she married someone that went to school here and ended up being the director of the Upward Bound program. Oh, wow. So we kind of got that connection, and we got 3 grandchildren, and the oldest one is a sophomore here in school now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And got one coming out of high school this year, and he says he's coming here. Well, I'm going to have to wait and see. He's a little on the fence, so I'm going to have to talk with him a little more. Especially if I got to pay the bills, in some cases, well, hey, if I'm paying,
you going
just where you going?
Yeah, you know where you going.
Now we're going to let him make a decision. I think because he's kind of a homebody person anyway. Yeah. So, but anyway, Pembroke is a nice place to be. It's a nice institution, and I'm glad to see that it's continuing to grow and getting better, offering all different kind of majors now. And all this stuff wasn't here when I was here. This was a cornfield right here when I was in school here. Cornfield. The track was over there where the parking lot is behind the gym. Yeah. So, seen a lot of changes. A lot of changes. Matter of fact, the front, where's the front of the gym now is the back. It used to be the back. The front was on the other side. And on the other side of that, when I came to school here, there was the elementary school over there. So a lot of changes, a lot of things happening. Yeah. A lot of places to go around here, a lot of things to do. So.
Anything else from
Go Braves.
Hey, go Braves.
Come join us.